Hi everyone, this is the profitability calculator, and underneath each of the steps are some instructions, so you can read that as you go through the calculator, and as you go from one field to the next you can use your tab key. So the first thing you're going to do is enter the frequency of service. It's either a one-time cleaning, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Most typically we do bi-weekly cleaning, so I'm going to select that. Then you tab down to the cleanable square footage of the home. So for this example we're going to use 2,600 square feet. Now you have a choice between estimating your hours per cleaning or entering a production rate. So if you know how long it's going to take you, then you can enter the hours per cleaning here. If you know your production rate, you can enter that here. You can also link over to the production cleaning rates calculator if you want to use that to estimate your time. So for this example, we're going to say that we do about 750 square feet per hour. So you'll notice that it fills in the hours per cleaning based on that. So it's 3.47 hours. Now if we blank that out for a second here and enter, we think it's going to take 3 hours to clean this home, well then it fills in your production rate here. So that's 866.67 square feet per hour that one person can clean. So let's just stick with this for now. The next field is either the price per square foot or a price per hour. So you can enter either. If you typically price by square footage, for example 4 cents a square foot, you can enter 0.04 there. And you'll notice that it has now populated some prices for you. We have low-end estimates, mid-range, high-end estimates. So if you've got someone that has a lot of clutter, you may want to go with the high-end estimate. Or you can also click I would like to enter my own price. So let's say that you want to charge somewhere in between these numbers, and you're going to charge $110. So if you want to charge $110, you can enter that. Now if we enter if we decide to enter a price per hour, which is what most people do, I'm just going to blank that out for a minute, and let's say we charge $30 an hour. Okay, so here's our pricing for that, for the $30 an hour. So let's just go with, well, we've got it checked with I want to enter my own price, so let's just say we're going to charge $100 for this one. Alright, so the next thing it does is it moves you down so you can estimate what your expenses are going to be. And we're going to start with paying our employees. Now for residential, you're either going to pay them hourly, or a lot of companies pay by the percentage. So let's just use hourly for our first example. So you can enter the hourly wage of up to 4 cleaners. So let's say we've got 2 cleaners on this job, and we're going to pay, one gets paid $10 an hour and one gets paid $10.50 an hour. It's going to skip over the next 2 steps because this is based on percentage pay. So now it goes down to the time on the job per cleaning, which is already filled out. Remember, we had 3 hours that we were estimating this to take, so each cleaner gets 1.5 hours. It also enters the total wages per service that you'll be paying your 2 cleaners. Now you need to enter your employee or employer burden, so all your payroll expenses and insurance will go in here. So in the United States, our FICA and Medicare, or Social Security and Medicare, percentage is 7.65. For federal unemployment, it's 0.8%. For state, you'll need to enter the rate for your company, so you need to know that rate. And we're just going to use what we have in our example here is 1.5%. Other employment taxes, if you have local taxes that you have to pay, you would enter that here, or if you're from another country and you have other taxes that you need to pay, you can enter that here. Liability is typically a percentage of $1,000 of payroll, so we're going to use 1% in our example. Your workers' compensation rate, I mean, that can vary from state to state, so you need to enter whatever it is for your company next, and for our example we're going to use 9.5%. Overhead and supplies are the next 2 fields. Now your overhead are the costs of of operating a business that does not generate a profit. So here are some examples of overhead. So you will need to do a little research if you don't know your overhead percentage, but we're going to go ahead and use 22.5% for this example. Supplies, you would enter this as a percentage. Typically it's going to be anywhere from 1 to 10%. So we're just going to, I think most companies it's 2 to 3%, so we're just going to enter 2% here. Now equipment, typically this isn't something that you will enter into the calculator, but we have it available if you want to. If you need to purchase equipment especially for this job, you can estimate that in here. We have a field for rental charges or for first year equipment purchases. So let's say you needed to buy a vacuum for this account and it was $200, and you could enter that in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that for our example. So now what the calculator has done, it's estimated out our first year expenses including the equipment purchase, and then here's our expenses, and this is per service. So the first set of numbers, this takes into consideration that equipment purchase, and what it does is it estimates that $200 over time. So this cost includes the purchase plus all the other expenses per service, and then it calculates it out for 1 year. So this bottom one here is the one that we really want to look at, because this is the results of whether or not you're profitable. So we charged $100 per service for this house. Our costs are $61.54. That's our payroll and our liability insurance, our workers' comp and supplies. And here's our profit dollars. And it just so happens that our percentage, because we charge 100, is the same. Here is the yearly number. So we're going to make $2,600 on this account. Our costs are $1,600.04, and our profit dollars is $999.96 for the year, and again we've got that 38.46%. So what I want to do is just go back. We did this as an hourly wage. I want to do an example of paying by percentage. So you'll notice that our hourly wages are grayed out now. So we're going to tab down to number 11, and this is where you're going to enter the wage percentage that you are going to be paying your employees. And most companies charge usually between 35 and 40% to their employees. So we'll use 40% in our example. Now you're going to select the number of employees working at that account, and let's go ahead and say there's 2 employees. And you'll notice that it filled in these fields here. So we've got the percentage paid to each employee. Cleaner 1 and cleaner 2 is 20%. That adds up to your 40%. It also lets you know what that hourly wage is based on the hours per cleaning. So each of these employees would actually be making $13.33 an hour at this job. Now what if you have one employee that makes a higher percentage, like a lead person or a team leader? Well, all you have to do is change the percentage. So let's say we want to do 21% for this employee. You're going to get a warning up here saying that that doesn't add up to 40%. So all you have to do is change this one to 19, which does add up to 40%, and now it says it's balanced properly. So you'll notice that the person who's getting paid 21% is now making $14 an hour. The person making 19% is now making $12.67 an hour. So now our numbers down here are already filled in, but they've changed a little bit. We've got $40 is going to the employees. And if we skip down to the end, you'll see that our percentage has changed a little bit. Our profit is $27.32 per service, which is the same as our profit percent, and then here's the yearly numbers. So you can play with this calculator and really drill it down to exactly what percentage you're going to make on this. Now one more thing I wanted to show you before I finish is I'm just going to blank out our supplies, and I'm going to blank out the overhead, so that our expenses now are strictly labor burden. We've got all our employment expenses and insurance and workers' comp. That's your labor burden. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to take a look at the bottom number here. You'll notice that our profit percent is now 51.82% and our cost is 48.18. Well, because we're charging $100 on this, you know that the 48 is 48%. That means that in this case our labor burden is 48%. I know there's people who aren't quite sure how to calculate that, so this is an easy way for you to actually use this calculator to figure out your labor burden. So if you know that you want to keep your labor burden at 50%, well then you can change the numbers to reflect that. And if you're not happy with the numbers, come back up here to your price and change the price. Play around with your price. Also, you may need to adjust numbers in your time estimate. So the calculator is really good for adjusting numbers and playing around and seeing where you fall to make sure that you are profitable with this account.